Hello, everyone. Chaplain Tom with Safe Harbor Community. I'm going to jump right in. Right, so this study I am calling Interwoven Connections, as I have been researching Christian nationalism for the last several months. I started seeing other connections to other groups and Project 2025. And this is an overview of some of the research that I have discovered and want to present to those who are interested. You know, what's really interesting to me is having been in evangelical circles, a Baptist pastor for 20 years. Prior to that, I was a deacon, a Sunday school teacher, worship leader, had been, basically in Southern Baptist churches, seminary since 1988, and I have supported many of these organizations and ministries. We used homeschool curriculum, and you can be in the middle of something and not even realize what else is going on round about you. So this research has connected me to CPAC, which is, a conservative annual convention. And many of these groups and organizations, universities, are active participants, and they meet and they plan and they are prominent speakers at each other's conventions, and there's a lot of connections here. I hope you find it as interesting as I do. And what we are discovering is that Project 2025 is some 50 years of planning that comes out of the Seven Mountain Mandate, and all kinds of information out there if you want to go down a rabbit hole, which I did because I was curious and I wanted to be informed. So next is a audio overview summary of my materials that I have put together. And of course, if you'd like that printed research, you can request it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're getting into the connections between Christian nationalism and some pretty influential conservative groups here in the U.S.
Right. We're talking the Seven Mountain Mandate, Project 2025, the Southern Baptist Convention's Conservative Shift, and CPAC as well.
Exactly. We've looked at a bunch of sources, different viewpoints really, to try and map out how these groups might be interacting, what their aims are, and, the potential impact.
Yeah, understanding how they connect is, well, it's crucial for seeing the bigger picture of the forces shaping things right now, like
Yeah.
different parts of one complex machine.
Okay, let's start with maybe the Seven Mountain Mandate. This idea, it seems to have popped up in the 70s.
That's right. The story goes, divine messages to people like Lauren Cunningham, from YWAM, Bill Bright from Crew, maybe Francis Schaeffer too.
And the core concept is these seven spheres or mountains of society.
Yeah, exactly. Family, religion, education, government, media, arts, entertainment, and business. The belief is that Christians should actively influence or even control these areas.
Lance Wallnau really ran with that term, didn't he? Popularized the Seven Mountain Mandate label.
He did. And underneath it is this idea of a divine duty almost to occupy these spheres, to reshape culture according to a Christian worldview. Some even talk about establishing God's kingdom on earth.
Which connects to dominion theology, that concept.
Precisely. That humans are meant to exercise stewardship, dominion over the earth. They pull biblical support from Genesis, Revelation 7 mountains, though that's symbolic. Yeah.
Interpretations vary, yeah. Isaiah 2 and the Great Commission.
And it's linked to the New Apostolic Reformation, the NAR, which focuses a lot on spiritual gifts and, well, world transformation.
But there are critics, obviously. Concerns about misinterpreting scripture, maybe focusing too much on earthly power.
Sure. But the key link for our discussion is how it feeds into Christian nationalism and, more theocratic ideas.
Okay, so let's define Christian nationalism itself a bit more.
At its core, it's really about fusing Christian identity with national identity, specifically American identity in this case. And it argues the government should actively promote Christian values.
It's not entirely new. It has historical roots.
Oh yeah, going back to colonization, ideas of American exceptionalism. But today it often blends with cultural conservatism and sometimes more troubling overlaps with things like white supremacy or Christian supremacy.
You see the push for Christian symbols in public squares, state support for certain religion practices.
And it often aligns with exclusionary views, xenophobia, homophobia, things like that. Figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene get mentioned, groups like the Ziklag group.
Though there's pushback too, like the Christians Against Christian Nationalism movement.
Definitely. Now, how does Project 2025 fit in?
Right. Project 2025, this is that big Heritage Foundation initiative, basically a plan for a potential incoming Republican administration.
And their goal is significant. Reshape the federal government, really centralize power in the executive branch, deconstruct, as they say, the administrative state.
The proposals are pretty sweeping. Replacing career civil servants with political loyalists, getting more partisan control over the DOJ, the FBI.
And dismantling entire departments, potentially education, homeland security, plus deregulation, tax cuts, social program changes.
And there are culture war aspects too, like criminalizing pornography, rolling back LGBTQ plus protections.
Critics often label it biblically based Christian nationalist. You've got figures like Paul Dans, Kevin Roberts, Russ Vaught heavily involved.
Yeah, and we see connections back to the Seven Mountains idea. Charlie Kirk saying Trump aligns with it. The Ziklag group wanting Christianity as the guide for all sectors.
So Project 2025 looks like a potential vehicle, a policy roadmap for implementing some of these broader Christian nationalists and Seven Mountain aspirations.
Okay, let's pivot to the Southern Baptist Convention, the SBC. They had their conservative resurgence.
Yeah, started back in 1979. It was driven mainly by concerns over what they saw as theological liberalism creeping in.
The big push was for biblical inerrancy, the idea the Bible is completely without error.
Right. And the strategy was pretty straightforward. Elect conservatives to key leadership spots, seminaries, agencies. And it worked. It shifted the denomination significantly towards a more conservative theological and social stance.
Figures like Adrian Rogers, Paige Patterson, Al Mohler were key players there.
Now, their relationship with Christian nationalism is complex.
How so?
Well, officially, the SBC opposes Christian nationalism. They tend to emphasize religious freedom for everyone.
Right.
But within the SBC, you find a range of views. And the ERLC, their ethics commission, often takes positions on social issues that line up pretty closely with Christian nationalist goals and with Project 2025 aims, especially around family, gender, life issues.
Interesting nuance there. Okay, lastly, CPAC. The Conservative Political Action Conference.
Right, the big annual gathering started way back in '74. Now it's global. It's a huge platform for conservative and Republican figures.
And increasingly, more populist nationalist voices seem prominent there.
Definitely. And there's a heavy emphasis on promoting conservative Christian values, school choice, fighting gender ideology, talking about biblical truth, traditional families. You even hear spiritual warfare language quite a bit.
And the links to our other topics are explicit.
Oh, yeah. Direct links. Charlie Kirk has talked about the Seven Mountains at CPAC. Lance Wallnau speaks there. Known Christian nationalists are given the stage, and Project 2025 is actively promoted there too.
So when you step back, you see a lot of overlap.
A whole lot. You have individuals like Wallnau active in multiple spaces.
Yeah.
You have shared platforms like CPAC. You have collaborative efforts like Project 2025.
Groups like the Ziklag group acting as connectors.
Exactly. And even with the SBC's official stance, you see that shared desire for more Christian influence in society, which resonates between the resurgence folks and Christian nationalists. Liberty University is another connector, big presence at CPAC, involved in Project 2025.
So it seems clear these movements, while it may be distinct in origin or specific focus, are definitely interconnected. They share platforms, personnel, and, well, a broad goal of increasing Christian influence across American life.
That seems to be the common thread, and it really highlights that central tension, doesn't it? The desire to weave religious beliefs deeply into governance versus the principle of separating church and state.
Which raises big questions for religious pluralism for democratic principles.
Absolutely. So the thing to really ponder, for you listening is what the potential long-term impact of this convergence could be. What does this interconnected landscape mean for the future balance of faith and politics, for individual rights, and for the place of diverse perspectives in our society?